You've probably seen it happen. A senior leader sits in on a meeting and everybody clams up. So how can you, as a leader, attend meetings without disrupting the meeting and what needs to be discussed and decided? Watch this short video to find out what I've observed about how senior leaders work to prevent this from happening. I'm Bob Windover. Like you, I've sat through hundreds of meetings this year, and maybe a few thousand over the past 5 years, and probably tens of thousands over the past 3 decades. Being a creative and opinionated soul, I've always been anxious to contribute my helpful ideas. But I've also learned to be a keen observer of those around me. Who is generally interested, who is angling for power, who wants to be someplace else, who's trying to entertain themselves by making snarky comments. You probably do the same thing sometimes in meetings. Of course, the person leading the meeting has an influence on all of this and the meeting's outcome, right? But many times they don't seem to leverage this influence or even realize they have it. Perhaps you've noticed the same thing. And as a result, the discussion drifts or even goes off the rails. And those who are sincerely interested in trying to contribute get frustrated by irrelevant comments and suggestions that don't seem to mesh with the actual topic, or maybe people making funny comments that distracts everybody's focus. And when this happens, the best ideas may not be offered because those who are sincerely invested kind of just shut down. In other instances, the purpose of the meeting or the desired outcome is not explained in a way that provides focus. When was the last time you received an agenda outlining the topics and desired outcomes and decisions to be made, and perhaps background meetings or readings so that everybody is up to speed when they start to attend? And sadly, this kind of prep is just lacking too much of the time. I've made it a practice of watching the senior leaders in the meeting when all of this takes place. And rather than getting frustrated, perhaps, they take it all in stride. Now, what do I mean by a senior leader? Generally, it's the person to whom most everybody will look, especially when the meeting seems to be going off the rails. Now, here are the 4 patterns that I've noticed over the years. First, these individuals attend way fewer meetings. And that means you won't generally see them at most of the everyday meetings that everybody attends. Instead of attending these meetings, they have found ways to work behind the scenes to ensure that people are following the vision and direction that they have set for the organization. How? Primarily through individual conversations. Rather than competing for attention in meetings, they work through issues with a circle of trusted people who they know will implement their ideas in the meetings they don't attend. Now, these one-on-one conversations and maybe one-on-two conversations are generally concise, to the point, and well thought out. More than anyone, senior leaders are conscious of their time. I've met with thousands of them. They're cordial, but also expectant. They're good leaders, but they're also precise and confine the conversation to the topic at hand at that point. Now, if you ask about another issue at the same time, they might say something like, I tell you what, shoot me an email about that with the background and some options for resolution, and then get on my calendar for 15 minutes to discuss it. In identifying a time frame, they have set a parameter around how long the decision should take and that you had better be prepared when you're meeting with them. Why? Well, because too often they've discovered that the other issue isn't well focused. And as a result, the offhand question can devolve into a discussion of how to figure out what the actual problem is. And they know their time is spent, better elsewhere. Second, they resist the temptation to add comments during the discussion about a particular issue in a meeting. They know how the power of even an offhanded comment can unduly influence the direction of the team. They can discourage the insights of others. If someone asks what they think, instead they might say, well, I tell you what, I'm going to defer to everyone else right now. Who else has a suggestion or an insight? And then they will remain quiet, even if it maybe is a bit uncomfortable for a few seconds. They also do this to avoid stepping on the influence of the person who's actually running the meeting. It is natural for people to look to the senior person in the room, and the leader wants to observe, not participate at this stage. Third, they summarize the suggestions and ideas offered about a decision at just the right time. You might hear them say something like, so what I'm hearing is, or, well, the consensus seems to be. And this is a subtle way of testing the water and bringing the discussion to a potential close. Now, if one or more people offer a clarification after that, or maybe a different interpretation, the senior leader will back off and welcome this and remain silent until another natural opportunity for summarizing appears. I've noticed that most people in most meetings don't even realize that this is being done, but its effect can be very powerful. And fourth, they resist the urge to take over, even if the meeting is not going well. After all, someone else is in charge. That said, they'll file away their observations about how that leader is running the meeting and how those who are attending behaved and so on. They're always on the lookout for people who can be coached and maybe moved into more influential positions over time. And those, while doing their day-to-day job, are just not candidates for grooming and development at that point. These 4 practices enable senior leaders to influence without having to be the face of the meeting or pushing decisions and discussions in a way that might discourage the sharing of valuable but unpopular ideas and insights. Now, it takes time to master these practices, but the outcome is well worth it, trust me. In truth, you don't really have to be a senior leader to exert this kind of influence in a meeting, by the way. You simply have to exercise the restraint and focus I've mentioned. It's tempting to jump in when you hear something familiar, right? Something you support, something you vehemently disagree with, or because a solution pops into your head and you just feel compelled to share it right then. But that can undercut your influence when you really want to be heard. What have you noticed about how effective senior leaders work productively in meetings? We'd all like to know. Put your ideas in the comments below and make sure to subscribe to this channel for more practical ideas just like these. I'm Bob Wendover.